Hey everyone, Regal Reviews here. It is White Rice Wednesday, which means it's time for my Survivor recap. So it's the merge! So congrats to every single Survivor castaway that made the merge. That is such a huge accomplishment to make it this far in the game. So everyone's, the honeymoon phase of the merge where they're all sitting, enjoying each other's company, enjoying the feast. I mean, look at all the food there. I mean, that's got to look pretty good surviving, almost 3 weeks out there? John mentions how they want to stay Goliath strong, and Goliaths do have the number 7-6 right now, so they stay pretty strong. They're on easy street. Angelina finds out at the merge feast about Alec taking out Natalia, so now Alec is a potential threat because now they don't know if they could exactly trust him. And Gabby kind of had the right mindset. She thought because most of these merge feasts has either an idol or an idol clue there, she thought maybe they all each had individual napkins, maybe a clue might have been hidden in there, or the sign that said everything you need to survive, something like that. She thought, oh, maybe there might be an idol there or an idol clue. So she didn't see anything. We didn't see her actually looking for one, but got to give her credit for having that mindset. Carl has had it up to here with Elizabeth. We saw how he's gotten annoyed with her and wants her gone. Nick then is reunited with Christian. I love their alliance, the Mason-Dixon alliance. He then tells Christian that he believes that Dan has an idol. And Kara and Dan reunite. And yeah, they're either gonna be off really early in the merge, or they might go far. They might surprise us all. But Dan mentioned how one idol, that's for himself. So that kind of implied that his other idol, he might play for somebody else. So he could potentially play that for Kara, and that'd be interesting because Carl, as we've seen on Exile, has the idol nullifier. So if Dan played that for Kara and Carl uses the nullifier, Kara's gone then. So that would really bring down Dan. Angelina then mentions that she wants to take out the David threats. I would assume the David threats would be mostly Christian because he's an underdog, but as we've seen his game develop, he seems like he's turning into a Goliath and becoming one of the brochachos. And I gotta give Alec credit. He is definitely playing the game of Survivor. He's definitely not Goliath anymore. He's almost like a double agent. He's trying to form his own alliance because he wants to get off two David pawns and then pick off the Goliaths one by one. So he has Allison, Mike, Gabby, Nick, and Christian in his alliance. So I'm really feeling that alliance. I definitely think that they can make something happen. Elizabeth then is annoyed by Dan and Kara because, as we've seen, Dan and Kara are like this power couple, and she sees it and she wants them gone. We also see that Alec actually, before I forget, Alec actually named it the Strike Force, so was Alec named it the Strike Force? Or Christian? Not sure. But Elizabeth wants to keep all the Davids together and make sure they're strong, even though they don't have the numbers. She just wants to make sure that they can remain David strong and hopefully get something to happen. And Alec, like I mentioned, is a double agent, and he tells Dan and Kara that Elizabeth wants them gone. And Dan basically throws a fit. Like, he can't understand why Elizabeth would want him gone. I mean, hello, she saw you and Kara talking for 2 hours, and Dan's acting like a big baby about it. Like, you see throughout the episode, he's telling people that need to, well, at least in his confessionals anyway, that people need to buck up and stop, like, crying over this. But he's the one throwing a big tantrum when he's the one that has 2 idols in his pockets. He's like the king out there right now. And he's throwing a fit because somebody doesn't like him. I mean, worst comes to worst. If he feels like he's threatened, he's got 2 idols, so he's safe. So the immunity challenge I thought was very interesting. It's not one of those typical balance challenges that we see. They had to balance, and I guess in a way, but it wasn't like the whole main focus. They had to swing this pendulum, and they had to kind of always have momentum the whole time. It had to go through these rings, and it could hit the ring, but if you lost momentum or your what do you call it, pendulum or string, whatever, if it hit your little statue, you're out. If you step off your stool, you're out. So yeah, it looks easy, but it's very complicated. I mean, people could be hypnotized with that whole swinging around, and just one little loss of focus ruins the whole game for you there. So it came down between Elizabeth and Allison, and ended up being Allison that won the first immunity. So congratulations, Allison, on winning the first immunity challenge. And it really sucks for Elizabeth, because if out of any nights, she definitely needed this. So back at camp, they're debating on who to vote off, and the Goliaths are talking, and Angelina again suggests that they should get Christian out because she doesn't want to wait to get Christian out. She thinks that Christian has the potential to beat them all, and I agree. The way Christian's playing right now, if he makes it to the final 3, he's got a pretty good case. Gabby hates that how her fate is in somebody else's hands. It's not really, because you can't, I think it was Angelina said, you can't base your game on hope. I mean, your fate is in your own hands. I mean, if you feel like you're on the bottom, you've got to go out there and do something about it. Alec then decides he wants to take Elizabeth out, and Angelina doesn't feel safe with Dan, because Dan, they originally had a plan to go with Christian, but then Alec convinced Dan and John to go with Elizabeth because she's not a huge threat right now, and so that makes Angelina feel uneasy. And Angelina then approaches Elizabeth and tells her that her name's being thrown out there. And Elizabeth goes and tells Gabby about this, and then they come up with the idea to have this blow up at Tribal, that Angelina basically betrayed the Goliath, so why don't have this come up at Tribal? So at Tribal, it's the first one of the merge, so whoever gets voted off will be part of the jury, and Jeff did confirm that at Tribal. And it really does set the game. This is an important vote because it pretty much sets the game how it's going to go from here on. And it's no longer David versus Goliath. It's basically every man for himself. And that whole conversation of Elizabeth and Angelina came up. Elizabeth did tell everybody that Angelina approached her and told her that her name's thrown out there, that she's going to go home. And Angelina didn't say that her name was going home. She said that she approached Elizabeth, tried to have a heart-to-heart with her. And Elizabeth said, "Is my name being thrown out there?" And she says, I can't exactly tell you. So she was trying to cover her own ass, because now Angelina could possibly be going home because she's a threat to the Goliaths. And there's a lot of whispers going on, and I'm feeling uneasy. I have no idea who's going home at this point, because it could be Elizabeth or it could be Angelina. And sure enough, it ended up being a blindside, at least for me. It ended up being Elizabeth that got sent home, and it was a blowout. Like, every single person voted for Elizabeth but Elizabeth. So I gotta give Angelina credit for surviving these past 2 tribal councils. I seriously thought she was going home, but this is Survivor, and she's definitely playing the game. So the previews for next week show that nobody is safe out there. It looks like Mike doesn't really trust Gabby, and I don't know exactly what's going to happen. Maybe Mike doesn't really think Gabby belongs in the alliance, and that's pretty unsettling for Christian. And again, it looks like Christian's name might be thrown out there to be voted off. So yeah, great merge episode of Survivor. I definitely was blindsided. I for sure thought after that whole episode, I definitely thought Angelina was going home. So I'm glad Angelina is safe. So I hope you guys enjoyed Survivor. If you guys want to check out Survivor, it is on Wednesdays, 8 p.m. on CBS. Until next time, stay regal.